And the day's biggest story undoubtedly is Manipur. For close to 3 weeks now, there thankfully has been no casualty in the state, and the centre has also made public its roadmap for Manipur. In an affidavit filed before the Supreme Court, the government outlined what steps have been taken and what is their plan for the days ahead. Primary among the steps outlined is a fast-track trial and a CBI investigation. Additionally, the centre has also planned a series of meetings between both communities to eventually reduce the trust deficit between them. But all of these declarations have done nothing to stem the continuing politics over Manipur. First, another day in Parliament was lost to disruptions and adjournments, and now Team India has announced that they will be sending an all-party delegation to Manipur tomorrow. This, remember, is happening even as a debate on the no-trust motion is already going to be held within the next 1 week. The government has accepted the offer to have a debate on the floor of the House. They have filed an affidavit in court detailing what all are the steps that have been taken, and additionally are talking about how healing and reconciliation is the road ahead.
ये मामला पॉलिटिकल मामला है एक। दूसरा जो मतलब इसको आप तहकीकात करो, सीबीआई को दो, इसके पीछे क्या वो आप समझने की कोशिश करो, वो अपनी जगह है, लेकिन इसको पॉलिटिकली एड्रेस करने की कोशिश करना चाहिए। हमारे देश के जो रहनुमा हैं, जो गवर्नेंस में हैं, जो पार्टी इन पावर है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर है और जो यूनियन मिनिस्टर्स हैं, उनके चीफ मिनिस्टर हैं, एक तो कम्प्लीटली डबल इंजन सरकार कम्प्लीटली फेल हो चुकी है। वहाँ की भी सरकार, यहाँ की भी सरकार। हम लगातार ये डिमांड कर रहे हैं कि मुख्यमंत्री को इस्तीफा देना चाहिए वहाँ पे, क्योंकि वो फेल हो चुके हैं। लेकिन इम्पोर्टेंट क्या है कि आप उनको आज तक उनको एड्रेस ही नहीं किए। शांति की अपील ना तो प्रधानमंत्री की है, ना सरकार की तरफ से किसी ने किया।
हमने तो चर्चा के लिए जब ऑल पार्टी मीटिंग सदन शुरू होने के पहले ही हमने स्वीकृत कर दी। जब वो स्वीकृत कर दी, उसके बाद ये बोलना कि नहीं हम तो चर्चा तभी करेंगे जब रूल 267 में हो, इसका औचस्व कोई रहता नहीं। 267 तभी इन्वोक होता है जब और कोई माध्यम ना हो चर्चा करने की। आखिर आज 7 दिन पूरे हो गए हाउस के। अब 267 की चर्चा बहुत ही रेयरेस्ट ऑफ द रेयर केस में कभी कभार हुई है। पुराना इतिहास में निकाल लिया जाए।
अरे भाई जाएं ये लोग तो पाकिस्तान जाएं, श्रीलंका जाएं, चाइना जाएं, इनको जहां जहां जाना जाएं।
Before we go any further, let's get you the details of the central government's next steps that we have accessed in Manipur. Times Now, in fact, is in possession of a crucial document which lists the 3 main future steps. 1, gradually remove the trust deficit between the 2 communities in the state. 2, fencing of the India-Myanmar border. And 3rd, collection of the biometric data of people who are entering from Myanmar to ensure that no illegal settlers find shelter in the state. As for claims that for 3 months the central government sat on its hands, here are the details of the steps that were taken beginning the 3rd of May. In fact, remember, it was on May 3 when the first violent episode was reported. On that day itself, additional central forces were deployed in addition to drones and helicopters. These central forces included 123 companies of central paramilitary forces and 184 columns of the Army and Assam Rifles. On the 4th of May, Kuldeep Singh took over as special advisor to the government of Manipur in order to ensure better coordination between the state and centre. Subsequently, MOS Home Nityanand Rai was deputed to Manipur, and he stayed there for nearly a month between the 25th of May and the 17th of June. Amit Shah also went to Manipur on the 29th of May, where he held 15 meetings across communities and civil society groups. Basically, the centre is making it clear. We are ready to have a debate. We are ready to have a full investigation. We are ready to reach out and ensure that Manipur heals. But is politics muddying waters? What is going to be achieved through an all-party delegation which is going to go to Manipur tomorrow? And finally, with Manipur being turned into a potent political election issue, will the state ever be allowed to limp back to normalcy and heal. Let me go across to Charu Pragya, spokesperson of the BJP, joining us along with Captain Alok Bansal, director of the India Foundation, defense analyst Colonel DPK Pillai, Selam Dharnidharan, spokesperson of the DMK, Kamar Zaman Chaudhary, leader of the Congress, and Dr. Riju Datta, spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress. The question is, next week as it is, the debate is going to happen, Dr. Riju Datta. Why an all-party delegation?
Let me be very blunt. The issue in Manipur is a clear case of ethnic cleansing. And on 26th of July, 2 days ago, I'm not going to go into the history, 2 days ago in a village called More in Manipur, which was covered by many national channels, fresh violence erupted, houses were burnt, people have been killed. And on that same day, the Honorable Prime Minister of India was watching a dance program in the newly inaugurated Bharat Mandapam.
Sir, aren't you further deepening the divide? Hold on a second. This is an ethnic clash. Hold on a second.
Can I finish?
First of all, no, I am requesting you for responsibility, that's all. It is a clash between two communities and it has happened historically. For you to call it ethnic cleansing is only going to make matters worse. Are you doing this deliberately or is it unthinking? If it's unthinking, please don't do it.
No. Times now can try to sugarcoat the issue to safeguard the Prime Minister. Sorry, sometimes things need to be blunt.
It's got nothing to do with safeguarding the Prime Minister,
that
sir.
boasts of building one IIT and
is this your official stand that it is ethnic cleansing?
Please.
Is it your official stand that it's ethnic cleansing?
Yes, absolutely. The officials, yes. Do you want me to say that again? Yes.
No, okay, fine.
And why I'm saying this?
We'll address this.
Let me finish. There are some eminent people. Yes, there are eminent people on this panel. The situation in Manipur is such where the BJP boasts of making one IIT and one IIM per year in the villages of Manipur, and Times Now has their representatives there. There are self-made borders where on both sides, both communities, youngsters who are studying in colleges have taken up arms and ammunition to guard their own territory. There in the valley, there are no cookies left. In the hills, there are no Métis left. Let me be very blunt, because people need to know that this is the situation. And now the fire of Manipur has spread to the other northeastern states like Meghalaya and Mizoram. In Mizoram, in Aizwal, there are lakhs of people on the streets. Conrad Sangma, the chief minister of Meghalaya, was attacked by a group of
Sir, we know all of that. We've reported all of this. My question was more specific, Dr. Datta.
Please understand this.
We understood it. We have reported it extensively.
I'm just finishing.
Yes, my question to you was more specific.
I'm just finishing.
What are you going to do by taking an all-party delegation? That's the question.
The all-party delegation is going to take report of the situation which is not been coming out in the light, because a lot of people are trying to sugarcoat it. But the bottom line, again I will say in humble words, that nobody, it is only the Prime Minister, the tallest leader of this country who has been voted by most of the Indians, should intervene to bring stability and law and order first in Manipur. Later we can talk about peace.
It's interesting
First
that you say that reality is not being brought out after literally quoting media reports and saying so many people have been killed, there are blockades over here, there are people who have picked up guns, this is what they are doing, this is what they are doing. All of it is being reported. You are saying that there is still tension in the area. You think you are going to be able to extend a healing touch by going into an area which is already on edge? Mrs. Riju Datta?
So my question, my specific question to you is, why I do not understand why people want to deflect this issue by going into whataboutery. Now, if I say when something untoward happens in Bengal or any other non-BJP states, why BJP sends a fact-finding team of MPs to flare up the situation? Please understand.
All right, fair point. You are trying to sugarcoat Charu Pragya. You send fact-finding teams for panchayat elections in Bengal. They have all the rights to actually go and find out what is actually happening in Manipur, which you've put behind an iron curtain.
So I'm glad that my fellow spokesperson has used the word whataboutery, because that is exactly what the opposition is doing on the issue of Manipur. It's a very grave issue. It has shaken the entire nation. But what is the opposition doing? Is it being responsible and holding the government accountable as it should do, which is its job? Or it's dilly-dallying around a discussion and simply saying that one individual should be held accountable and that is only Prime Minister Modi? Is that how the opposition in a democracy functions? Government is willing and pleading to discuss this in Parliament. Our Honourable Defence Minister, our Honourable Home Minister have very categorically asked for a discussion in Parliament. Please tell me, why are you still disrupting the proceedings of the House and making sure this discussion does not happen? Is it because the situation in Manipur does not pain you? Your political situation pains you, and it is merely that and nothing else. Because frankly, if you had questions to ask of the Prime Minister, you have been given the Parliament.
Okay.
Why do you not ask those questions
Quick
on the floor of the
response,
House?
Riju Datta. The
Let
aim is to destabilize the government in Manipur and attack the Prime Minister.
No, and
let him quickly respond to this. I'll come back to you. Let him quickly respond to this one point. Riju Datta, respond.
Okay, I have a second point. Because everything he said...
My simple question to the viewers of Times Now, to BJP and everybody, the entire panel and the entire country will agree on one fact, that the BJP Chief Minister N. Biren Singh has failed and failed miserably. Why is he still the Chief Minister? And when there are more than 50,000 troops on the ground trying to restore peace, national forces, central forces trying to restore peace in Manipur, why Article 356 is not imposed in Manipur when it's such a sensitive issue? Please answer me these two questions.
Okay, Charu Pragya, now respond and make your second point.
Absolutely. So, sir, let me tell you, insurgency in Manipur has been going on for 42 years. 42 years, and that has been a legacy of the UPA government to the present government. I hope that you acknowledge that fact. Let me also remind you that it was you who encouraged and endorsed groups which have set the Northeast to fire. In fact, it is you who has encouraged and actually supported people who did not want development to come to the Northeast at all after all these years. We have inherited a mess that we are trying to clean up. Let me give you an example, and I'll use a metaphor as an example. There is a cancer in a body. You cannot pop one pill and say, why did it not end with that one pill? It takes time, it takes effort. Over the last 5 to 6 years, insurgency in Manipur has come down by nearly 80%, Padmaja. 80%, which means 80% less civilian deaths.
Okay.
80% less deaths of our armed forces personnel. This is a huge, huge thing. Also, I want to come back on Manipur and tell them one more thing. From the first day, the government has been taking action. Yes, the situation is terrible. Yes, there has been a clash. And this clash has impacted all of us. But does your pain come from only the geography of this clash, or is it because it is happening in any part of India, it would equally pain you?
Okay.
Because I don't think that's the case, Padmaja, and that actually is a point of pain and contention for me. Because when he talks about the Chief Minister of Manipur,
okay,
he's at least on the job trying to fix things. What is the Chief Minister of Rajasthan doing?
Okay, even if we don't refer to other states, because I don't want to go down that road. Hold on a second. Let me bring in the Congress. Let me bring in the Congress. Hold on a second, please. Let me bring in the Congress.
And these are
Colonel Pillai, before we go to the Congress, Colonel Pillai, just want to make one thing clear. Because a lot of people are using words like genocide, ethnic cleansing. One wonders whether this is based on fact, whether it is borne out by facts, or whether this is more of a political statement. What is the reality of the claim that what is happening in Manipur is ethnic cleansing and genocide? Colonel Pillai.
Well, first and foremost, we must understand that Manipur is a real case study because that state represents a very unique character. There were Meiteis there who were a dominant community once upon a time. Today, their numbers, they're outnumbered. They used to be inhabiting a particular valley, and that valley is now also dominated by people who have... So there is, it's basically, you must understand, the state belongs to... There are conflicting claimants. There are conflicting claims, and democracy is good in many ways, that it actually empowers people to get a voice. But you see, what has happened here is essentially a power struggle. So what we are seeing is the Meiteis versus the Kukis now. The Nagas are completely neutral in this because earlier instance they had the Kuki versus Naga fights that had gone on. So here you have a community that has been traditionally governing that area, has to now contest for space because of various affirmative actions that the state has carried out, the government of India has promised. And you find that they are now being reduced in terms of power, even though they still continue to hold 40% or 40 or 60 seats and others, but their power base is, they feel that is dwindling. It's, you know, and that's the problem with our democracy. When you don't have any common identity, when you don't have, and you have, this is what actually a state would throw up. What is happening here is something that we are waiting to see in the rest of the country happening. And but how politicians and how our democracy, which has actually helped us in past to, like from the brink of disaster, we've seen that happening in Mizoram, where we had, you know, insurgency movement that actually wanted to separate. We have seen it in Kashmir today, normalcy has come back, and that essentially is because of a democratic character.
But you would agree that it is a clash between two communities, and to call it a targeted genocide would be a disservice to the cause of peace?
It's a mutual distrust that exists on both sides, and you can't blame one and you can't condemn one and commend the other. It's not it's something that is that's happening, and that is bound to happen when you have a situation. And it's the wisdom of it's the strength of our political parties to realize that we shouldn't allow such differences to fester to a point of no return. We should get people to negotiate. You know, there were statesmen once upon a time. You see, this happened in Rwanda. It happened in South Africa. You had leaders of the stature of Desmond Tutu, Nelson Mandela, who did a reconciliation between the countries. Where are those kind of leaders here? Everyone is baying for each other's blood, and they're not showing the maturity that you'd expect of a political leader, of a democratic system which has been for last 75 years, which has actually flourished in our thing, you know. And the greatness of our democracy is that we make retrievable mistakes. You know, mistakes in the past have actually been corrected, you know. So we've not lost Kashmir,
so it is very clear that a lot of these statements are actually born out of politics than actual concern, and could end up making matters worse. My question to you is, let's limit ourselves to Manipur alone. In Manipur, today when you say that the solution, the magic bullet to this entire problem is to take the resignation of the chief minister. I am quoting to you actual facts from the same state because this is being called a legacy problem. Here is what happened. April 1993, there was a clash where 350 Kuki and Naga villages were uprooted. Around 750 deaths happened. At that time, Rajkumar Durendra Singh was the chief minister. He was from the Congress. Then you had June 1997 to September 1998, more than 50 villages were destroyed and 13,000 people were displaced. 352 people died, 136 were injured, 4,670 houses were destroyed. At that time, Rishan Keshing of the Indian National Congress was the chief minister. Let's move on now to May 1993, where another clash happened, killing more than 100 people. This was when there was president's rule. But in 1995, when Kuki-Tamil conflict happened, it left 9 people dead. Rishan Keshing of the Congress was again the chief minister at that time. Was there a problem? Yes. Was president's rule brought in? Yes. But at any time in this conflict, in the middle of it, nobody stepped down. No chief minister said, I am going to now step aside and let the state do what it wants. Kamar Zaman Chaudhary.
Yeah, Padmaja, all those events that you have stated just now, fortunately or unfortunately, I've lived through all those situations because I was born in Nagaland, bordering Manipur. And I know the situation, what is there out there. A strong feeling, a sense of tribalism exists in almost all the districts of Northeast India. There is a serious differences of trust, or you got a trust deficit among various communities in the communities out there. You are speaking of violence in Manipur when the NSC and ISEC Movia group or the Kaplan group were very much active. They had their headquarters in Ukrul, that is based in Manipur. Then you have got the Kuki militants warring with the Naga militants out there. It was a warlike zone. Plus you have got a border state with Myanmar. from where there were insurgency related or drug related.
Sure,
This
but
all
what is your
existed.
point?
Wait, let me come to my point, please, Padmaja. You have raised a very pertinent question, trying to link this with the Congress party's happenings during those times. But then you must understand out here that we had entered into a Naga peace accord with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Isaac Novia in 2016. Can the BJP publish those Naga peace accords details in the public domain? What was the need? What was the need to get the cookie-dominated hills vacated?
Sir, can you stick to the topic and tell us what is your point about the current conflict?
No, if you cannot get into the root cause of the problem, there will be no solution in this. And I'm very sorry, where Amit Shah and Narendra Modi are failing today is they have not yet identified the root cause of the problem. What they are doing is they are suppressing the events of the Manipur so far. Amit Shah camped out there for so many days. He knew of all the incidents that have happened out there. What did he do? He ordered a judicial inquiry when the necessity was a CBI or an N.I.A.
That is not true. That is not true, sir. CBI cases have been filed much before into the overall violence that took place in Manipur. The CBI case yesterday was specifically into the May 3 video about the stripping of 3 ladies and the gang rape of 1. That is the CBI case that has been sought yesterday. Otherwise, the CBI is already investigating.
Padmaja, if you want to quote pick and choose, then I'm very sorry. Because ultimately, there was a judicial inquiry ordered by Amit Shah ji in Manipur. There was a necessity of identifying the culprits. There was a necessity to identify the negligence of the government officials, of the politicians out there. Was there any step taken in that regard? Why was there a natak performed by N. Biren Singh in tearing off his resignation? The trust deficit that exists in Manipur is against the BJP government, and that is final. The best way approach going forward is to accept the resignation of Biren Singh and go forward with the president's rule.
Okay, so you are going to bridge that trust deficit by taking an all-party meeting there, an all-party delegation there.
You see how Rahul Gandhi was received there in Churachandpur or in Imphal.
And you're so concerned about the people. You're so concerned about the people. Can I come in, Padmaja? Please, Padmaja, can I come in, please?
And the government's apathy towards the violence. Now, if an all-party delegation goes out there, gives them some comforting here.
Okay, the comforting touch that was given by Rahul Gandhi is going to be extended by the all-party delegation, Charu Pragya.
Yeah, so Padmaja, let me remind the Congress spokesperson that he belongs to a party whose national president on losing the election in Manipur said, Kharge ji said, it doesn't matter we lost Manipur, it's a small state. Manipur did not matter to you, sir, as briefly as just a year ago. Today it matters to you only because it suits your objective. I ask you a specific pointed question. 42 years of insurgency in the Northeast. 42 years of insurgency. How many peace accords did you try to make happen? Did you try and bring groups together and talk of peace? Ever? Ever? You did not. All those efforts have been made by the N.D.A. government consistently. We don't just say look east. We have been saying act east, and the difference is there for everyone to see.
Okay, you are talking about act east. Captain Alok Bansal, is the action so far in the last 3 months enough to be able to assuage some of the hurt of the people of Manipur and to bridge the trust gap?
See, we need to understand that the situation is extremely grave and complicated. While political parties are free to visit any part of India, going at this point of time when the situation is tense might aggravate it. And I think it would be prudent on the part of political parties to defer their delegation for some other time when still tensions are brewing. I think it will be better because this is not an issue on which politicking is essential. As Colonel Pillai brought out, there are numerous ethnicities in Manipur which have been conflicting. There are, of course, issues on land because Mathis, who are a majority, occupy just 10% of land, and they are prohibited under 371C to go and buy land in hill areas, and hill communities are there. We have Kukis, we have Nagas. In fact, Manipur is a microcosm of India. If you go to More town, about which Mr. Datta was talking about, it's actually a microcosm of India. You'll find people from every part of India living there. You have Tamils, you have Rajasthanis, you have Sikhs, you have Mathis. You earlier had Tangkhuls and Cookies. Now, of course, Tangkhul Nagas have been expelled after the last clashes between Tangkhuls and Cookies. I think the government's move to entrust the investigation to CBI is a very, very right step at this stage. And the government's proposal that the trial should be held outside the state is very, very important, because at this point of time, the sentiments in states are extremely emotive. And the administration is divided against ethnic lines to some extent. And I think there is, even if people act impartially, the perception is that if there is a Mathi, he's acting for his community, and if there is a Cookie, he's acting for his community. So this decision to entrust the investigation to CBI is the right step, because you will have outsiders who are perceived as neutral and would do a good investigation, and the trial outside the state would help to diffuse the situation to a very great extent. At this point of time, what we need is actually peace. We need a healing touch which is required, not politicking over.
Salem Dharinidharan. In an already tense atmosphere, any dose of politics is only going to help widen the divide.
Undoubtedly. That's unfortunately sad reality.
The whole Manipur issue happened because of intelligence failure, right? Prime Minister Modi says he runs a double engine government, but unfortunately his government is a seized engine now. The engine doesn't move. In Tamil we say that Kurangin Kail Kadata Poomalai. That is how the country is suffering. What does it mean? It means that flower garlands in the hand of monkeys. That is how people of this country are suffering under this incumbent BJP government. Why is the delegation going to Manipur? Simply because we don't have trust in the BJP government to speak the truth. When the girls were paraded 2 months back, it took 2 months for it to come out in the mainstream media, and the Chief Minister of Manipur shamelessly comes and says more than 100 incidences like this have happened, and the Chief Minister is not sacked, and there is no president's rule yet. If you can't have president's rule in Manipur, where else will you have it? The clear case of law and order breakdown. If this is not law and order breakdown, then what is?
But the government in its wisdom says we thought of an alternative mechanism. President's rule would not solve the problem. We put a special advisor there. We put paramilitary forces on the ground. We put additional choppers there. And that, they say in their wisdom, is far more efficacious than any president's rule would be.
But would you say the same if the same thing has happened in a non-BJP rule state? Absolutely not. In Tamil Nadu, there was one bomb blast in which only that person was killed, and then Times Now had about 30 debates. Until this video,
we have never advocated for president's rule anywhere, sir, even while highlighting, by the way. No. One, that is a completely unfair thing to say, because while we have specifically spoken of breakdown of law and order in West Bengal, never once had we advocated the imposition of president's rule.
No, I'm not saying that.
Let's be very clear about that.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to say is, how many debates did you have on that Coimbatore issue when only one person, the suspected terrorist or the terrorist, was only killed?
We've had 3 weeks of debates on Manipur.
The news channel, including Times Now, have
3 weeks of debates on Manipur as well. There is no doubt about it.
Because no, but earlier I have the number. I had counted the numbers before, right? I had counted the numbers before coming to the debate. Nothing. I think viewers can also go and see how many debates held.
Sir, we have had a reporter in Manipur since the 3rd of May.
Why?
And there is no doubt in my mind about it.
No, I am coming for your debates. Even 2 weeks back, another channel had a debate on Karnataka where the BJP MLAs were sent out, which is a daily occurrence in the parliament. And then you are saying the debate has happened. I am coming to your debates every day. I know what's happening.
What is your point, sir?
Of democracy, media itself has failed its people by suppressing facts on Manipur.
How has the facts been suppressed?
The BJP government, the clear case of
you are sitting on a channel where our reporter is in Manipur, has been there since the 4th of May. How is that suppression of facts? We are putting out actual data of the number of people killed or displaced. How are you suggesting suppression of facts?
Then why were the women being ill-treated? So then why? Then how come that incidents where women were ill-treated did not come out in your channel? It
because,
has come out in a social media.
There were no FIRs which were available at that time.
Only because of internet suspension did not come.
Okay. Again, we come back to the issue of there could still be a cover-up underway. Colonel Pillai that the full facts are not out there and there could still be a cover-up underway, which is why independent persons need to be present in Manipur. How do you look at that?
Like it's already come out, Captain Bansal also mentioned, and we've seen the multiple viewpoints. There are different narratives that are there. What is the casualty here is the truth. What is the problem here? The people are the ones who are suffering. So it's like a wave after wave. You're going to have this. There's no end to this kind of a difference that are there. It's too deeply embedded. The differences are too deeply. Now, what are the core issues here? It's about a Methi demand for getting a scheduled tribe reservation. And now you look at it like they still hold a dominant position in Manipuri society. But if you look at it in terms of jobs and positions that they're getting, they're not able to get the same kind of position there. And they're not able to acquire land. Now, these are issues that need to be addressed. If a community, a community, a democracy thrives on reciprocity. It cannot be that, the majority has its way and the others don't have. And the very fact that our country allows voices for the unheard, for the marginalized and everything, and that is where the strength of a country comes in. Now, you can't take positions, maybe you belong to different ideologies, different parties, but what is at stake there? There is a community of people whose demands are fair. There is another community of people, now they feel that the alteration has taken place because of influx that has come in from Myanmar, the large number of people. So what are the steps? Do we want foreigners to move into our country? That problem we saw in Assam when you had the Illegal Migration Determinants Act and others that created the All Assam Students Union. We saw that in the 80s, that what happened there. Now this kind of a grievance will exist. It's happened in Kenya, where you have Somalians entering the Kenyan mainland, and today they dominate the Kenyan discourse. So today a country, a predominantly Christian country, which was Kenya, which has got completely altered. So now what are we here? So when we do this free movement regime, which has outlived its utility, it was a British requirement. We need to determine, we have biometrics, we have technology on our side. Why should people want to come and settle down in India? We must make sure that the alteration doesn't take place of this. So there are some certain things which our national security has to take into. And of course, we can't marginalize people whose voices cannot be heard. We cannot allow them. And that's the reason why it's good that the political parties raise it. But don't take poll positions that it is against them whatever happens.
Okay, don't take poll positions. And by the way, since you mentioned the issue of ethnic cleansing, Riju Datta, this would be a misrepresentation of what is actually happening, number one. And two, speaking of misrepresentation, your own party leader is guilty of putting out a blatantly fake piece of news. A horrible video that was discredited a month ago as a video from Myanmar was put out by your party leader in such a sensitive situation, Mr. Datta.
See, okay, two things. First, the video that you're talking about that was tweeted by Mr. Azad, I believe he should not have done that. And as spokespersons of the party, we should be very, very responsible on what videos we put out, and we should fact check it and verify it at least 50 times.
Sir, it
so
has
he has
been
done a
fact
mistake,
checked.
and there is no way that I can
support him in that. It has been fact checked a month ago.
I know, yeah.
And by the way,
you,
this is not just fake
Padmaja,
piece of news saying, oh, it's night, it's not day. This actually showed a woman being killed, and he put it out as a video from Manipur at a time when we just had peace return. Then he puts it out. Then he quietly deletes. No apology, no action.
Listen.
The point I'm making is about misinformation and misrepresentation,
Amit Malviya does this,
which will vitiate the atmosphere.
But I do not understand all this. I don't understand this psychophancy. Amit Malviya does this on a weekly basis.
Sir, this is okay. Hold on a second. No. You cannot attack me just because I am pointing out something.
Or you are going to interrupt.
Sir, this is not about condemnation, by the way. This is an offense under the IPC. What he has done is not bad call.
Then why
bad call? It's an offense.
Why don't you file an FIR?
I don't
Why
have
don't you
to.
file an affair?
I don't have
Please,
to. You have better wisdom than that.
Joshi, to go and file an affair.
I don't have to. I'm sure the police will notice it on their own. Anyway, go on. Yes. Misrepresentation.
Yes, so let the police take action. Again, I am saying as the spokesperson of the party that what he did was wrong. He cannot do that. And particularly about a topic like Manipur, which is highly sensitive. Now, coming back to the main course of the debate, the two retired senior army people who are there on this panel have more knowledge than us who are political leaders. And the key points that they have mentioned, I believe what the people have heard on this show is there is a serious case of insurgency from Myanmar. Now, if there is a serious case of insurgency from Myanmar, or like BJP wants to say that there is a serious case of insurgency from Bangladesh to West Bengal, then in that aspect also the central government is failing on all terms. There is no peace in Manipur right now. We have all agreed on that. That still More is burning. So, you know, and when the BJP representative here, she was talking about Congress, how they have failed and all the other things. Congress failed. That's why people changed Congress and brought you into power. Okay. If you are doing the same thing, then you don't have the right to stay in power.
Captain Alok Bansal, the existence of insurgency, the existence of Myanmarese gunmen coming in is also a failure of the center.
See, firstly, we need to understand that of all the northeastern states, Manipur has the largest number of insurgent outfits. And insurgency in Manipur has never been completely vanquished, unlike other northeastern states. Some small outfits have continued to operate. The opening to Myanmar was very, very important because More is actually eventually the gateway to Southeast Asia for not only India, but for entire South Asia. The Asian highway was planned to go from there. In fact, it was expected to become a major hub of trade and tourism from South Asia to Southeast Asia. The country needs to have biometrics. Unfortunately, we did not have it earlier because at More, you are permitted to come for 2 days and go back. We have a free movement system whereby people can cross over without passport visas. Not only the locals, even the tourists manage to do that. So this is, to my mind, not a bad thing. But anybody coming in, we should have a system whereby we can have biometrics, which the government has said will do that. Okay. So that the people who come go back. We maintain an account who has come back and who has to go back. That is ensured.
So that is as far as explaining the presence of Myanmarese nationals is concerned. Also remember, this is one of the issues that very clearly has been mentioned as the road ahead by the center as well. A fraught area, many problems, historical baggage, but anyone who thinks that this can be solved by the resignation of X and Y person will be living in the fool's paradise, which is not to say that the government doesn't need to be held accountable. There are gaps which were there in registering FIRs, in taking action against FIRs. Hold the government to account, but let's not inflame passions further. We'll keep a close eye on what happens. Thanks very much, gentlemen, and Charu Pragya for joining me.